Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Amelia Buckley.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we are part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to help you make your day one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And now we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, happy April Fool's Day-worthy podcast. Today is the 1st of April, 2021. All right, so Summers is off the podcast this morning because she has a bit of a stomach bug, but that could be an April Fool's joke. We're not 100% sure.
I doubt it. I think it's just that her kid is now in daycare and she's out in the world for the first time in a year.
Her immune system is in shock.
Exactly. I don't know. So, yeah, it's April 1st. I was talking with my husband this morning about April Fool's Day, and we were talking about the Volkswagen prank, which I'm sure some of our listeners probably have heard about this, but they put out a press release like 3 days before April 1st saying that they were changing their name. They're updating their brand from Volkswagen to Volkswagen since they're going all electric in the future in their car. And they let it sit out there for 2 days before they corrected it and said, just kidding. Yesterday they said this is actually an April Fool's joke. So that was a pretty big one because they're getting write-ups all over the global press for April Fools. Anyway, apparently there's a Mexican tradition called the Day of the Fools or something. It's in December. And on this day, what you do is you ask your friends or your family members for like a small loan. Hey, can you give me some money for this and I'll get you back? And once they give you the money, there's this little thing you say about being the naive innocent. And now you've just lost your money, basically.
Okay, but if everyone knows that this is the day to ask people for money, if a relative asks you for money, wouldn't you say no?
But you do it, so my husband, who's the youngest sibling in his family, got taken in far too many times before he wised up finally and stopped giving his sisters.
Oh, so it's like an unspoken.
It's an unspoken thing. And once you learn about it, great. Then you go do it to your little cousins or something.
I kind of like that. That's almost better than April Fool's Day.
But it's, it's about it's like, haha, give me some, I need to get this thing, I need to get that thing. And then you realize that it's December 28th or whenever the All Fool's Day is.
Oh, that's a pretty good one. Have you ever pulled like a really good April Fool's joke on someone?
Oh, okay. So I haven't been involved with one for a long time. And the things when you're a kid and you swap the sugar bowl and the salt, or you fill it with salt or something like that for your parents' morning coffee kind of thing. But I have a group of friends and they've done some pretty insane pranks on this one woman in their office who every year she's the victim of some new, very elaborate, hilarious prank where like one year she was trying to organize a conference and they pretended that they were calling from the conference space, which was happening a week later, that they turned out that they had bed bugs and they were going to have to cancel this big conference.
Oh my gosh.
And they had her going for like half a day before she started like panicking. And they realized it was too far and they had to say, no, it was a joke. It was April Fool's.
That's like the office-worthy pranking. I've never heard of that in real life. That's pretty good.
But every year, it was a small office for a nonprofit that it was pretty funny. Anyway, how about you? Have you ever pulled any really big ones?
Really big ones? I've never pulled a really big one, but my parents pulled a really big one on us. My parents, when I was younger, I think they told us that we were getting a new car on April Fool's Day. And they were taking us to school. They're like, we're getting a new car this afternoon. It has all these crazy features coming up with all these made up things that modern cars could do. And were telling us that they were getting one of these cars. And they were like, okay, we'll pick you up after school with the new car. And then they showed up and walked into school and got us. And we were so excited. And we were running out into the parking lot. And we just see our regular car. And they're like, oh, April Fools. That's the most memorable one I have. Nothing crazy, but that was the biggest one my parents ever pulled on us.
Well, hopefully we'll get through today without too many legs pulled.
Yes. We did not organize any April Fool's jokes on the Optimist Daily. That was not one of our chosen publicity stunts of the day. But we do have some great stories on
For
there.
better
Do
or
you want to
worse.
start off by sharing yours first?
I mean, there were some really interesting stories. I really liked the article about the heart valve, which is grown. This is for helping young children or babies who have congenital heart problems. Now that I've been talking about that, I have to read that headline. The heart valve replacement that grows alongside its recipient. It actually grows as the kid is maturing. So that was kind of cool. But that wasn't the one I wanted to highlight today, even though I did give it a shout out. The headline that I wanted to focus on goes 4 books to help you maintain an eco-friendly life. And this is April. This is the beginning of spring. It's definitely time to start thinking about how do we want to open ourselves back up to the world. And this year more than ever, that idea of renewal and regeneration and starting new habits and breaking old ones. This is the perfect time to really reflect on your values, start fresh. My Jewish friends, in preparation for Passover, this is when you do the deep spring cleaning. And that means like they will go through, like I have this one set of friends, and they go through and they clean every single cupboard in their entire house from top to bottom, get rid of things, bring new things in, and it clears up this energy. I know from when I clean out my cupboards and my closet and just go through things I no longer use, it does release energy. This article gives you tips on 4 different books that might help you maintain an eco-friendly life if it's time to clear out your home. Each of these books has kind of a different approach to sustainable living and some great tips. And so I just wanted to highlight this. I haven't read any of them yet, although I've looked through some of them, but I haven't actually gone through and actually read them. One is The Human Home, Easy Steps for Sustainable and Green Living by Sarah Lozanova. And it's an easy book to read. It talks about energy efficiency, water conservation, building materials, like how do you make your home have a smaller environmental footprint. There's some really inexpensive life hacks, like putting a brick inside of your toilet tank. If there's less volume of water, then when you flush each time, it'll use less water. Anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. There's an almost zero waste life, learning how to embrace less to live more. Again, looking for cutting down on your waste footprint and living with zero waste. How do you reuse things? Find new things to do with your crayon bits, right? To make new crayons for your kids with all those little broken black ones that everybody needs, whatever. There's Eco Hero Handbook, simple solutions to tackle eco anxiety. And again, this is something that we've talked a lot about here. We did the climate anxiety webinar with Renee Lertzman last year. But again, this is just a way, simple things that we can each do to think about how we can take action against that. And when you tackle these problems and you take action, it makes you feel less anxious. That's just what I've noticed, whatever the area that's making you feel anxious. And then Sustainable Home, Practical Projects, Tips and Advice for Maintaining a More Eco-Friendly Household by Christine Liu. The Eco Hero Handbook is from Tessa Wardley. The Almost Zero Waste Living is by Megan Weldon. And The Human Home is by Sarah Lozanova. So those are some great books that, if we're ready to clean out our house and do that practical clearing out the clutter, now might be a great time to do it. So I just like this. It's inspiration, eco-friendly living, gives us some interesting ideas. Minimalist. So that's why.
I like that one too. I really like the point you make about how the little habits kind of are a great way to soothe climate anxiety. Because I think for myself, a lot of people say, saving the world is going to require large-scale corporate action as well as action by individuals. But those small steps that you take in your own life are a great way to feel a sense of empowerment around the crisis, like not feel so hopeless. Even though it's just, small steps in your own small life, right. It does make a difference for you personally, and it does make a difference in the world, no matter how small it is.
Each drop of water will eventually create an ocean. But also, it's living in integrity with your own values, and finding ways to live in integrity, I think, is always a good step towards easing your own existential angst or your eco-anxiety.
True. Well, my story touches on environmentalism as well, and also, refresh and rebirth. My headline that I wanted to feature today is Yurok Tribe to lead reintroduction of condor in Northern California. So Northern California used to be home to the California condor, which is these huge scavenger birds. But due to habitat loss and overhunting and lead poisoning, by the early 1980s, there was only 22 that remained in the wild in California. So their populations were decimated. But conservation efforts have been focused on bringing these animals back, and there has been successful conservation efforts in Utah and parts of Baja California and Mexico and Arizona. So these have been successful, but so far Northern California hasn't seen any new ones. I did see there were some living in Yosemite National Park that we wrote about, I think, back in the fall. But the Yurok Tribe has partnered closely with Redwood National Park and is going to reintroduce the species to Northern California with a new condor release facility located in the national park. So they're going to breed condors there until they're old enough to be released into the wild, and that could actually be as early as this fall, which is really exciting. So their project was just approved by the Fish and Wildlife Service, so it's officially happening. And it's really exciting because it means that this natural predator is going to be once again, hopefully thriving in Northern California, which will be exciting for bird watchers and animal lovers everywhere.
Yes, although, well, hopefully you won't ever have to watch them eat because it's pretty interesting. We were talking about this earlier we were talking about this article, but they have a family of condors at the Santa Barbara Zoo that I've gotten to see during feeding time, and it's pretty interesting. But that's just part of the circle of life, right? Even those bunnies need to get eaten by something.
I shared this story with my dad this morning, actually, because he's a big fan of large birds. He keeps track of, there's a bird cam on the Channel Islands that watches a pair of nesting bald eagles, actually, that he's a big fan of. And so I sent it to him and said that hopefully once they reintroduce them, there will be a nest cam for him to keep an eye on them because he's always really excited about big birds.
That's lovely. That's lovely. There is something very majestic about watching these massive flying animals. I mean, and condors can be really quite big.
I think their wingspans are 2 meters.
Yeah, so there's like a 12-foot wingspan. So they're really remarkable animals, and I love the idea of them being back in the wild in Northern California. And so great. Thank you. What other headlines are on the Optimist Daily today?
We've got some other great ones. There's the heart valve one that you were discussing, and a real-time experiment shows efficacy of renewables. That one was pretty cool. A happy accident that there was an unexpected blackout at a renewable energy facility, and rather than bringing in a diesel-powered generator to restart the system, they used it as an opportunity to learn how they could restart the system using only renewable energy, which is pretty cool. Stay-at-home mom and other inclusive titles to be offered on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn expanding its definition of work and including unpaid caregivers in that definition.
Actually, that's a really interesting one because there's so much unpaid labor that our economy is based upon. I'm sorry I didn't actually use this one to highlight because I think this is really an interesting and innovative idea on LinkedIn, which is a professional website. But stay-at-home mom is a real job. That is a job. Just like, caretaker if you have an elderly parent, or if you take care of a kid, Anyway, cooking and cleaning, that's work, man. That's real work.
All right, we've got the National Mall cherry blossom bloom that you can see for yourself with Bloom Cam. So those famous cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. are blooming this year, and you can get a look for yourself even if you don't live near them.
NaviLens is helping the visually impaired navigate public transportation with some signs that interact with a phone app that'll help people who have vision issues. They're testing that out. There's a study about carbon labeling, which finds that it's more effective when carbon labeling is ubiquitous. So let's update our labels to not just nutritional, but carbon footprint as well. These students want to turn old chewing gum into skateboard wheels. Again, a circular economy, using waste for new things. And speaking of waste, there's a new pavilion that will be made of discarded oyster shells and cork. So go read about that from the architecture firm Baker Brown Studio in Sussex, England. And yay, that's it for today on the Optimist Daily. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening to the Optimist Daily Update. You want to take us out, Amelia?
We promise to continue to share positive, solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to continue to cover the current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
And if you're not already, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com, or start sending out articles to your friends, telling everybody about us. But as an emissary for just $5 a month, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with that problem-solving mindset, focusing on the solutions and not just the problems. And you can help us keep the Optimist Daily free for everybody who needs it, supported by those of us who can. Thanks so much for listening. Summers, if you're listening, I hope you're feeling better. And maybe tomorrow you can come back in. But if not, Amelia, we can keep this going.
We'll see you tomorrow, guys.